Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Wednesday in the Riv. And what a Wednesday it is. It is the day after the city council, 8 out of 9 people sold the taxpayers down the river.
Yep.
Not
only did they sell us down the river, they approved a budget over $800,000 more than the original budget. And you know what the excuse was? Healthcare costs, which you and I know is bullshit.
Well, the healthcare went up $2 million, and they have freely admitted that the healthcare is their fault.
That's right.
So there again, this is why we've got to get the people enraged. We've got to start having some meetings of CAG and Citizens Alliance for Accountability in Government. We need to do this. Listen, the healthcare went up, and that's not the final figure. Maybe 1.8, and they freely admitted, they should be able to absorb that. And Linda Pereira mentioned my name, as she said, well, you know, he warned us. I warned them 6 years ago. I read it on a show. I told them, you can't spend healthcare money. You have to put it in an account and keep it, because at some point in time, you're not going to run under budget. You can't blow it paying all the other bills. So now, thanks to your 8 members of the city council, the 8 sellouts, the people who all joined, Brad and Paul, in nodding their heads, the citizens of Fall River are going to pay the $2 million that they blew.
That's
because
right.
They should have $2 million plus millions of dollars over, because you notice they didn't say the employees are going broke.
No, they didn't. Never did.
They didn't, because our money is in a trust fund. And
where it's all supposed to be.
That's where theirs is supposed to be. And I discussed this with the city official today. They have been violating the law all these years. They freely admit they blew all the health care money, when in fact the law, and I'll give you the law, Chapter 150E, Section 7, clearly states that all funds for contracts should be fully funded, as should every other item in that budget. And they have not been. They have used healthcare money. They didn't, and they tell you they do not appropriate enough money. And this is the problem. The taxpayers, you, the citizens, even you don't pay taxes, you pay them indirectly. Your landlord will pay those taxes and pass some of that down to you. You are going to pay the $2 million that the city has admitted they didn't handle their money properly. And the council gave them the money. Okay, we're going to approve this budget in spite of the fact, why didn't they tell Paul Coogan and our financial team to take it out of their salaries? Float a loan. Go to Bay Coast Bank and ask for a loan. Paul? Go down and ask for a loan for $2 million. You pay the freaking thing. You blew it. I told you 6 years ago on a financial transition team that this would happen. Not because I'm a psychic, maybe a psycho, but not a psychic.
Okay, Karnak.
Anybody that knew, no, I'm not a psychic. Psycho maybe, but everybody knew that at some point in time, healthcare, you can't run under budget forever. You're going to have a bad year. You're going to have a situation now where healthcare is a major problem throughout the state. Average increase is 15. Therein lies another thing. The fact is that the city of Fall River's increase is the lowest in the state that we know of right now. They're averaging 15 to 50% increase, and some in excess of 50%. Fall Rivers went up 8.5%. We don't have the money. Why? And they freely admitted that they did not handle our money correctly. They actually handled it illegally. And we're going to pay. That's why not one of those 8 city councilors should get a vote. Not one, except Michelle Dion, the 9th member. The only person who voted against this catastrophic budget. This is absolute insanity. They didn't fund OBRA. They admitted freely it's their fault they're $2 million short, but we get to pay. We get to pay. The taxpayers are going to pay it. They don't fund things. There's also 54 lawsuits. Yet the council will not demand that we know what those lawsuits are about. Has there been anything done to stop the lawsuit after lawsuit for sexual harassment and other things in the city of Fall River by the Coogan administration? No, nothing. 6 years of nothing, and he was forewarned. I have the letter. I read the letter. I sent the letter to some counselors numerous times, and Linda said it. He's warned us. You were warned. This is outrageous.
Well, thank you, Colin, because I did bring up that concern because I still don't think they can use Title I money for vape detectors.
And while we're on mishandling of money, which I think maybe it is time for the citizens of Fall River to file a class action complaint to the Attorney General, because there's another little item that has to be brought up. That is the fact that the city of Fall River got a grand total of $85.6 million from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, and they were supposed to be allocated for infrastructure improvements, economic development, and a quality of life for city of Fall River residents. I want to know where that money went.
So do I.
I want to know.
Chris,
I know where the $2 million. I know where the $2 million they're short went. They blew it, paying other bills except healthcare. We know where that OBRA money didn't go. They didn't put it in. They're short because they didn't put it in, and we're going to pay for all of these bills. I want to know. I'm sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of the city and its city council approving budgets when the financial team freely accepts that all the deficits we have are because of them. Because
no, they're not because of them. They're because of Paul and them. Don't forget Coogan.
Yeah, okay? You're right.
Coogan created it.
It's ironic, but Paul doesn't like us because we speak facts and the truth. So I'll give you a little bit of a history here. There we go. You ready for this one? We're just going to keep elevating ourselves. Why Mayor Coogan wants a 3rd term. Yeah, we elevated ourselves into being deeper and deeper in debt. Okay, here's another one from Paul Coogan, even back farther. This is what he wrote about the transition team. Now, everybody, if you don't have any Pepto-Bismol or Maalox in the area, please get some. And I'm going to read this first paragraph verbatim. Integrity and a well-run, well-organized city government are the Coogan administration's highest priorities. Failed on every count. Here we go. Next sentence. Transparency and get ready for this one, I'm going to go up a few decibels. Accountability and ethical standards will be the foundation of this administration. What a crock of manure. If there's ever been the antithesis of that statement, it's the Paul Coogan administration. This is outrageous what they've done to the taxpayers with this budget. And they not only gave them imagine putting $600,000 in a budget for pay raises when the city's broke. They not only approved that budget, they added $1 million to it. Those people should be put in jail for political malfeasance. I think it's time to start filing some complaints from the citizens of Fall River, calling the Attorney General and demanding an investigation of political malfeasance in the city of Fall River. And I will begin to draft that right now because I'm telling you.
I'm going to tell you right now. I had it out on the phone today with several city councilors. And I have no problem with naming people because guess what? I've named them before. But I had it out with Ricky Teeth today. He voted yes. You know why he voted yes? Because he didn't know what else. He aligned himself with Andrew Raposo, who is aligned with the mayor. Andrew only has his own self-interest in his concern.
Who knows?
I had to educate Ricky that he can vote yes, no, abstain, and present. He was not aware that he could vote present. He wasn't aware that he could abstain. Well, Colin, I would highly suggest that you, as a school committee member, which I know is not beyond you, because Assad has requested an extension on the open meeting law complaints you filed, because they don't want to answer them. Because obviously Paul doesn't like the fact that he can't go into executive session just because he wants to. But,
yeah. Well,
but Ricky Teeth and I had, I said to him, I said, look, if you think that vote on the police chief is going to get you reelected, you're nuts. You're nuts.
Well, it's the other councilors.
People want a city council that represents the people, not the mayor, not other members of the city council. I said, and I'm telling you now, I'm going to watch you for the rest of this year up until elections. There's not much going on. It's the summer months. But I'm telling you now, I will do everything in my power to make sure you're not reelected if you make one more mistake. He wasn't happy to hear that. He wasn't happy to hear that at all. And guess what? Sean Kadim, you make a good show. You're like Cliff Ponte. Oh, where's this money coming from? We got to cut this. We got to cut that. Blah, 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 blah. And then what do? You vote the opposite way.
Not only that, you give him an extra $1 million. Here's a tip.
Right.
Here's a tip. Here's a tip for your incompetency. And Colin, get me over those violations. It'll be part of the very long and detailed complaint that we will be filing, and we will ask some of the citizens of Fall River to file along with that complaint. And like I said, this is outrageous. Here's the letter again. This was sent, and I was part of that transition team. He made the fatal mistake. And after I broke down the unfunded liability, pension liability, collective bargaining, and I went to the healthcare, and I explained how we had to give them nearly $1 million to keep our Canadian drug plan. What kind of city needs to take a loan from its employees? And then I said at the end of the articulating some of why the issues underfunding, this is it. However, the facts prove otherwise. The problem was created by mayors and so-called financial teams underfunding the system in order to divert money for political gain. And then I went on to say, and I sent this to these councilors, and they ignored it for years, and I sent it to this one. That's why Linda made the statement. On the long term, remember, this was written over 6 years ago. On the long term, Major changes that can spike medical or drug costs that are highly probable will find the city financially unable to pay its share of the cost of healthcare. And that's exactly where we are. And Paul Coogan knew that before he put his useless, lazy ass in that office on the 6th floor. So you're going to pay. Every taxpayer in his city should be out there pushing these bums out. The only people that should remain in office in this community are Michelle Dion, Kevin Aguirre, and Colin Dias on a school committee. And I don't care if we put one of these rubber robots in the 6th floor. They will do better than Paul Coogan. He knows nothing about nothing, and I told the city official that today. I said for 30 years he walked around with his hands in his pocket. He got his job in his school department through political connections. Half his family got jobs through political connections in the school department. And then he got the vice principalship by political connections. And he never made principal because he couldn't. They knew he wasn't competent enough to run a school, let alone a city. I pay more for taxes and house insurance than I do for my mortgage.
Same here.
That's an outrage. And remember, in that statement, it goes on. Let me get to this other part here. About taxes. Remember, he promised us a tax rate. This is his draft before he came into office. Again, I'm going to that. It is important, to utilize resources while simultaneously addressing the many unique challenges, such as vacant and abandoned properties, educational attainment levels, which
we're doing worse now since he started.
How good he is at that, right? And the number of our residents. Listen to this one. I love this one. This is in the 3rd paragraph. I will give anybody a copy of this that wants to see it. After education, and the number of our residents living below the poverty level. Our poverty level has increased since Paul's gotten in. More people are in poverty than ever, and they can't afford the rents are astronomical by his own admission. We have
Nantucket rents.
Nantucket. I think it's more like Martha's Vineyard. And then he goes on to say, listen to this. I want any one of you viewers to tell me if you've got any one of these things. A well-functioning city is defined, and I know he didn't write this because he's not capable of writing anything like this.
I know.
Okay, so number one, I know that because I write my own stuff. He couldn't write something like this if his life depended on it. A well-functioning city is defined by safe, well-maintained streets. We were number 1 in crime. We've been in the top 5 since he's been in office in this state.
And we have more potholes than when he took office.
And the streets are a freaking disaster. And here we go to give that punchline a little extra zing. Clean and vibrant neighborhoods. And the efficient delivery of public service. We got chaos in the police department. We got chaos everywhere.
Chaos in DCM.
And here we go. Right? This is the biggie. Everybody fasten your seatbelts. It is imperative we stabilize our tax base and provide an avenue for neighborhood revitalization and stabilization. Bullshit. Build more market rate housing that your people can't afford.
That's right.
This is the biggest lie ever written. And this is what how he got elected for 2 more terms is beyond me. But this is the document. His words. His words. And if you look at the bottom of this page, you should be able to, because you get a pretty clear picture. What does it say here? Can you get that?
Hold on.
Who's it signed by?
Mayor-elect Paul Coogan.
Mayor-elect. So this document was written before he was even elected, and every single promise he has made, he has broken, and not only broken it, he has doubled down on our taxes. The budget is doubled since he's been in. So this budget is an absolute. It is a giant middle finger in the face of every citizen of Fall River and taxpayer. Yeah, it's catastrophic.
And
George.
they
You're
are
right.
flush with cash. They are flush with cash. They have more cash than they know what to do with, and they keep pissing it away on things like vape detectors. Okay? Why not dump some money into education? Before ed reform, I went to school. I had one teacher, okay, in each grade. I was one of the highest performing students in the city. Highest performing. You can't even get that anymore.
Well, that's a given, Colin. That's a given. I mean, here's a guy that spent his entire adult life in education, and he doesn't prioritize the fact that our educational system is failing. He's given out a lot of pay raises. He's created a lot of new jobs, putting 4 supervisors where we used to have 1, and had his bobbleheads at the school committee. Now they've morphed into Mimi Larrabee and Shelley Pereira. Okay, so they can identify as anybody they want. We have a woke state here, so they can those robots can identify anybody they want. But listen, it is not a money problem we have in this city. It's a spending problem.
That's right.
It is not a money problem, people. We should have plenty of money to run this city. If we have, and I haven't got, because we used to get that every month. Now they hide it from us. I have to ask for it. How much money do we have in a trust fund? We have $8 or $9 million in our trust fund. The city pays 3 times the amount of money we do. It's a 75-25 split. So if they would have handled their money exactly the way we have handled our money, they should have 3 times as much. That's $27 million. That's a lot more than $2 million. So that's even right. If they skimmed some of that and said we don't have to keep all of that money in, and if we invested that money, we wouldn't be $2 million short. We'd be $20 million in the black.
That's right.
And you're paying for that incompetency. You're paying for that lack of fiduciary responsibility.
Well, let's talk about fiduciary responsibility.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Michelle made a motion to withdraw from the budget, remove $113,000 or $133,000 for financial analysts. There is no one in that position. The justification for keeping the position was it was meant for the interim CFO. Meant for the interim CFO. But the interim CFO is in a position, doing the CFO position, getting paid for that. So remove the funds. That's it. No, why not? Because unremoved funds means excess taxation, which means excess free cash. And as you can tell from this budget, the city can't function without free cash. That's why you have budgets that are double what they were 6 years ago. And let's get into further about that. Pay raises. Elections. They got 5, 6 people working in that office. You call that office, guess what you get? An answering machine. Because Ryan doesn't want to get off his ass and pick up the phone. If I were the mayor, I'd walk into that office and rip that answering machine out. And tell them, you just got a $15,000 pay raise. Answer your freaking phone. Work for a living, you lazy bastard. You have 6 people in here that do nothing. Work for a living. That office used to run efficiently with 3 people. 1 full-timer, 1 part-timer, 1 commissioner.
This is
I
why.
would give you $50,000 more, and it's inefficient.
And this is why we need to file something as a complaint, because we've been telling them this for decades and 6 years in the office. And yeah, I'm glad you mentioned fiduciary responsibility, because here's another little item that we've shown them a million times. Here's where it came from. Cornell Law School. Okay?
Not
this
that's
is reputable. These are the fiduciary responsibilities of the duty of care requires that directors, who are our city councilors, that means people who are making investments for people, inform themselves prior to making big business decisions of all material available to them. And then in a case precedent, one of numerous here, Morin versus Household Intern Inc., 490A, second 1059, 1985. Moreover, a director, which is a city councilor in this case, may not simply accept the information presented. Rather, the director must assess the information with a, quote, critical eye, unquote, so as to protect the interests of the corporations, and in this case, the citizens and stockholders, because we are the stockholders. And then the end of this little thing talks about their responsibility. Colin, this is to you, and I know you take it seriously, but you can have a copy of this if you want to give it to your friends, your counterparts. This is about fiduciary. All of this is about fiduciary responsibility, and it's case precedent. And here's what it says: the duties of public officials may extend beyond minimal compliance with codified ethics rules. Even if no ethics rule and code has been adopted, or no code provision is on point, public officials must act in a manner that comports with their common law fiduciary obligations. Government ethics law, criminal provisions, and other legislative enactments should be interpreted and applied in light of the demanding loyalty obligations that is imposed on public officials as fiduciaries. Neither that city council, with the exception of you and Kevin Aguirre, and the city council, with the exception of Michelle Dion, has satisfied this legal obligation. And it's not my opinion. It is the opinion of the Cornell Law School, and it has numerous case precedents. This is why it's time for us to file a freaking complaint, because I am fed up to here with these people robbing my wallet. I got to pay for $2 million that I've been telling them for 40 years what to do with, and they've ignored it. I've sent letters to the council before Kathy Ann Bavera said we never put in the money we need to put in, and they let it go. I sent them the law that says they can't do that. They still ignore it. And now they're going to make me pay for that $2 million. I negotiate on the other side. We don't need your money. We gave you a nearly $1 million loan to keep the Canadian drug plan so we could save millions of dollars for the city and the healthcare recipients. We've been doing our job. You're not doing your job, and I'm sick and tired of it. We're going to file a damn complaint.
Did they ever pay it back?
People. I've been telling them this shit since 1981. So, I mean, that council, that was a disgrace last night. They are supposed to be, by our Constitution, our favorite part of the first Article 5, they are supposed to be answerable enough and answerable to us at all times. They are our substitutes and agents. What happened last night in that city council chamber was an outrage.
No, the bigger outrage was the fact that you couldn't even watch it completely because the transmission was intermittent. How come every time Paul's got something, he doesn't want the people to know? The transmissions become intermittent. It's not the first time it's happened. It's not the first time it's happened.
It is not. But I mean, listen, this is the problem. They don't like us because when we talk, it's not, Rumsey's not going to get up there and say these court cases don't exist.
That's right.
Rumsey's not going to get over and tell me that I didn't write that letter because I got the copy and every council's been getting that copy since Paul's been in office, at least once a year. You can lead a horse to water. You can stick their head in it, but you can't make them drink. Well, you give them the laws they violate and they still ignore it. So as far as I'm concerned, they have risen well above the threshold for malfeasance of a public official. And I know that they'll call their little friends in Boston and say, oh, tell them that they can't file that complaint. They can. Well, we're citizens. And I'll tell you what, every day I hope I hit the mega bucks because I'd hire an entire army of lawyers and I'd sue their ass up to the Supreme Court and we would win because what they're doing is illegal, immoral, and insane.
No question about it. No question about it.
I mean, I can't believe what I saw there. And I'll tell you, you're right, CJ. Nobody pisses me off more than Kadeem.
Right.
Kadeem will go on and on and on and on and on. Oh, look at me. I'm a town administrator. I used to be the city. I know all about this. You people are all screwed up. Here's your money.
Right. Exactly.
Useless.
And Cliff Ponte's no better.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but Cliff Ponte.
But I turned around and I said to somebody today, I said, I'm not making an accusation. I'm not. But Cliff also has to be careful because he needs the ZBA. He needs those variances for some of his projects. And without those variances, he's not going to make money. And that's some of the problems. Now, am I saying he's getting variances for votes? I don't know. I'm not saying he's doing that. But you have to think about it. Why does Kadeem come back here? Why is he still on the council? Why? I know why. You know why. So when he retires, he's going to turn around and say, I'm retiring from Fall River. They got better insurance.
No, it is. It's listen, they freely admit that the information I give them is correct. Linda Pereira said it in front of the whole council on the camera, and the financial team didn't make a peep.
Nope, they didn't.
They didn't say a peep. They didn't say no, he's full of shit.
But Gallagher was there. Gallagher said the numbers that were presented to the city council coincide with ours. Then when Gallagher left, those numbers went up.
They changed it. So they stole again. And the city council was part of that theft, and that would be the complaint.
Yep.
That's like when Mary Sahadi came down and said it was $45 million, and I texted our councilors and they grilled her, and I told them it was $40 million, and I said, call Gallagher up and ask them. Gallagher walked up, and to their credit, because they can't, because they're fiduciaries. They're not going to lie. And they have to obey the law, otherwise they're out of business. Over here, the only people that suffer are the taxpayers. Gallagher went up and said it's $40 million. And then Mary Sahadi said, oh, well, I added some stuff. Well, you can't add that stuff. It's got nothing to do with this. Okay. Right. We're gonna, okay, it is $40 million, but we're only gonna need $39 million, which, again, they're putting in less than 80. They didn't even put $39 million in. This is the whole problem. And the thing is, it's the taxpayer, the renter, the citizens of Fall River. We don't get our streets fixed. We don't have any public safety. All is private transparency. 54 lawsuits. And then the great lawyer that we know, that's why he wants a city job and a housing authority. Because, I mean, he's not F. Lee Bailey, he's F.U. Bailey. Brad Kilby is telling him in open session, asking him about the lawsuits and how many do you settle and the specifics of a lawsuit. No. That you can't. That's you're giving your hand away. But will they tell the people of the city of Fall River? I don't want to know the specifics. I just want to know what the case is about. I want to know how many of those 54 lawsuits are sexual harassment suits. I want to know how many of those 54 lawsuits that we're paying for when they settle. And they did tell Brad, Runaway Rumsey did say they settled 90% of them. So 90% means about 40, 48, 47 point something or other. I'm doing that in my head, but I can do it on my calculator. But most of them. And so every time they settle a case, that number one shouldn't have been there, because remember, how long ago was Malone? We still do not have a policy in place to stop sexual harassment, a definitive policy. Even though a city official admitted to me this morning that we still have the sexual harassment policy in place, that every year they put it out. Colin, I'm talking to you now. When Malone was brought up, why didn't the school committee say the city, which the Fall River School Department is a part of, and they are not autonomous in that respect, they are subject to federal law, sexual harassment law. They admitted to me that is still there. It didn't get lost. It's still there. Why wasn't Malone immediately suspended? His pay stopped until he was held accountable for his sexual harassment. Maybe we wouldn't have the lawsuits. We still don't have any policy, and we continue to pay for misappropriation of money, never, ever putting a policy in place. And remember what he said 6 years ago when he got in. And I'll give you a copy of this, baby. I mean, the BS in here, I don't know. He's Irish. He may have light eyes. That's genetic for people of that ethnicity. But I think they're probably brown now. Next time he's in a meeting, Colin, take a close look. His eyes may be brown because he's well above his eyebrows in bullshit. Because this is outrageous. I'm just, you bang your head against the wall for years and years and years. And when you have elected officials who were sworn to be our representatives have the audacity to ignore their legal obligation to us and then raise our taxes every year. Remember, 6 years he's been in office and he's doubled the budget. Yeah. That's right. He should have been placed on leave immediately. Let's see. Well, as I said, you can call and I will give you that information. I won't share it on the air, but I will give you the information of who told me that this policy is still in place. Regardless of whether it was still in place, you can't terminate a policy that mirrors federal law. But it was a city policy. I know, as I said numerous times, on the fire department, when that policy was originally adopted by the city of Fall River, every city department had to every year give a class on sexual harassment. There was a video associated, which was a very good video. And I had to sit through that thing numerous times, not just once. We had to get every employee to sign that they actually took that course. They reviewed it. And if somebody was on vacation, they had to come back and take it. I had to sit through in every single fire station in my shift and watch them take the class. So nobody could just walk in and sign the paper. I had to sit in a room and watch that at every single fire station and then watch them sign the paper. And I was responsible for that as the chief. You're not going to tell me what happened to him was, again, political cover for Coogan and his cronies. And what they did, again, was against the law. There was a city policy. And as the mayor of the city of Fall River, he should have been. And I think that, George, I think that's got a lot to do with a deep dive into readjusting our curriculum. We're seeing it all over the country in states like Florida that removed some of these ridiculous classes, and especially in states like this state, these wokey states, that they're giving classes on stuff that is not germane to somebody learning how to read and write. And this is what has to be done. We have to refocus. This is the reason that public education is under attack in many states, because it doesn't work anymore. They're not educating the public. They're using it as a political propaganda machine. And we spend tons of money, and they're looking at school choice. And unfortunately, the numbers speak for themselves. States that have a lot of educational choice, the people in charter schools, the people who are homeschooled, are testing far, far better than people in the public education system. And I'll tell you what, I don't fault the teachers. I know a lot of teachers. They want to do a good job. Yeah, and you're right. And kudos to you, Colin. But we need a deep dive into the curriculum. And I am really disappointed that we only have these, and it's like a voice in the wilderness. We have people like Colin and Kevin and Michelle. I want to take $133,000 out of the budget. Oh, no, we can't do that. Why? We can give another friend a job. We're going to make her CFO. She's not going to be interim. We're going to make her the CFO.
I was going to say that. One of Paul's friends is going to come in and take that job.
Of course. Okay. And you're going to give this girl who looked well over her head in this, you're going to make her the CFO. And when she couldn't really even do the other job, apparently, or at least it looks like it. And then you're going to give another bozo that job. So this is it. Hey, who knows? Maybe Andrew Raposo might put in the way he votes, he might be in consideration.
That's it.
Am I being a conspiracy theorist now, CJ, like you? Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts and minds of men? Only the shadow knows for sure.
That's true. The sad part is we talk about this all the time. We bring it up.
Who is the new administrator? Well, we have a rumor, don't we, CJ?
I don't have a rumor. I know who it is.
Well, we do too.
Administrator is Mike Dion. I got confirmation.
Yeah. And why is Mike Dion going over there? He's afraid he's going to lose his little federal job because of the cuts that Trump's making. So he's going to run over there and collect some money and retire with a higher salary.
Of course. Who, George?
And who's going to be
Mike
the new?
Dion,
Who's going to take
First
his
Director
place?
of Community Development Block Grants.
Mike Dion, George. Mike Dion. And who's going to take his place? Steve Long getting that job again?
That I don't know, but rumor has it that it's going to be Long.
Oh,
He
yeah,
had
because
the
he's
job
got
before.
experience there.
He
Where
had
is
the
he
job
now?
before.
Is he over in a housing authority somewhere? He's got some kind of
He's on,
thing.
I believe he's on the
Board?
board of directors.
Yeah. We're all
There'd
the
be no
political
conflict.
we're all the political lackeys go to hide. Yeah, this is nuts. It is crazy. What happened last night really is
Phil
if the
Coogan,
people don't rise up in this election, that will be the death knell for the city of Fall River.
Phil on YouTube. Coogan won't come on our show. Coogan's been trying to shut us down since he took office. And he finally did it over at BCC when he threatened to withhold their money. Okay? So.
No, he didn't take over for Mary Sahadi.
Tim McCoy took over for Mary Sahadi, didn't he?
Yeah, shortly, when then he went back, and then we got a whole litany. We got Bridget Allman and CFO, and then we had the infamous I don't do numbers, Seth Akins. So like I said, watching that meeting, seeing the result of that meeting, when 8 people just don't care. They just don't care. Even my dog behind me shaking her head. She can't believe it. And it's like 8 people don't care that this city told them it's our fault we're $2 million short. Well, they should have cut $2 million from the budget. From somewhere in that budget, they should have cut it. Maybe from salaries. I got a good way to start. You're a short $200 million. I got $600,000. We can start the cuts with the pay raises. That's over $500,000. We're already more than 25% there, people. I can do math. We're already there. But no. Let the taxpayer pay. We don't ask them. We just take. Even though we swore an oath, we are their representatives and agents and answerable to them at all times. And we have a fiduciary obligation to make sure that we spend their money on their behalf, not Coogan's behalf.
Linda, that's a Coogan move.
Any perspective? Well, yeah. Well, I mean, that's
a Coogan move.
That's what they do. That's what Coogan and his cohorts do. They got us off. Coogan tried for a while, and then finally, he got his minions to file a arbitrary, frivolous, and capricious complaint against us, accusing us of being misogynists and Nazis and everything else, and threatening women and everything else. And even though it was on the heels of a Supreme Court decision that said we can say anything we want, even if it's reprehensible about city officials. But then he pulled out the big gun. I'm going to withhold $100,000 from you. City's not going to fund you if you don't get rid of those 2. And he got rid of us. But we don't care. Now we're here and we can say anything we want. Thanks, Paul. Thanks. We appreciate it. We could never get away with what we say. Yeah. I mean, look at everything in his city is corrupt. You read his draft where he said integrity, ethics. I mean, God, if lying was a disease, it would be terminal with Paul, because that's all he ever does is lie. I mean, this administration is the most corrupt I've ever seen. I have never seen the budget double and absolutely nothing be. I've never seen a budget double, period, in this short of time. But secondly, I've never seen anything that when a budget doubled like this, we've gotten absolutely nothing for the people of Fall River. We don't have a larger police department. We don't have safer streets. We don't have better streets. We don't have a tax break. We didn't even hold taxes, stabilize them. We didn't even say 1 year, no tax increase. We're just going to status quo. No. It's screw the taxpayer. Now we have 8 people on a city council telling the people of Fall River, screw you. Screw you. They made a $200 debt because they misspent your tax money, by the way, because the city money that they misspent was our money. It wasn't even their money, but they didn't put the money into the healthcare where we gave them that money to fund that. Statutorily, they had to fund it, and they didn't. So what is their penalty? Like Paul Coogan. You screw up, what does Kenny Pacheco get? A pay raise. So the city council tells Paul Coogan, you keep misspending money, the taxpayers' money, that they gave you as their fiduciary in trust to spend for them wisely. You don't do the right thing, and we're going to reward you by giving the taxpayers another tax increase to fund it.
That's what Colin was talking about when he said the school department is in violation of 30B.
Yeah.
Procurement. And Paul doesn't think it applies to him. Because remember what Kenny Pacheco said. Doesn't matter if it was sent out for bid. It had to be done, so I did it.
It does matter because statutorily you have to put it out for bid. Again,
right.
They violated the law. And remember, you remember the guy who said that shouldn't have been there because here goes another one for the camera. Look at the date. Gone. What did he get? Pay raise, transfer, more power. He does it again in 2012, more than a decade after he got suspended for not doing his job properly. More than a decade. He does it again, no consequences. Remember that, Colin. No consequences for anything. Misspending money, we don't have to put it out for bid. It had to be done. Well, it wasn't done, was it? It wasn't done because that money was for this. That's the ducks. We got the problem again. Let's have the Peter principle on steroids. Paul Coogan rewards incompetency. The only thing that you need to be is loyal and a kiss ass, and it doesn't matter how bad you are at your job. Paul Coogan defines Democrat government in a blue state. I mean, he makes Maura Healey look good and woo. And that's saying something. I mean, this city just, it's dead. It's dead. Everybody lives in fear of the Coogan. He'll fire me. Like CJ and I get calls all the time from people that are literally in tears. Don't say that we told you this. We're going to get fired. They'll come after us, and they've come after people. There's an investigation right now ongoing, which I won't comment on right now until we get. There is an investigation going on right now in DCM again. And that investigation will reveal some staggering facts again. So how long have we been having problems in DCM? Oh, we can go back a long time. Does anything ever get fixed with Paul Coogan? The answer is a simple no.
Well, let me tell you something. I had this conversation today with a couple of city councilors because I was fed up with it. The city council did not do their job again. Yeah, you're right, Raven.
Yeah. They've already begun that a long time ago,
Exactly.
and they're moving out if they can.
Right. But as I was saying, the city council did not do their job. They waited. They deferred to the dictator when it came to the John Perry report. The dictator conspired with Alan Rumsey to keep that report buried for as long as they possibly could. They had to wait. This is what I was told. We have to wait until the case is over. And we're appealing the decision. I said, okay. And then they finally came to a settlement with the Herald. Why the Herald News would settle $187,000 for $50,000, I don't know. But they did. Stupid. And you wonder why the paper's going bankrupt. That's why. But the Perry report can't be prosecuted unless they can prove that Coogan, Rumsey, and others conspired to keep that information hidden. Now, there's a question on whether or not the appeals process extended that statute of limitations. But we're not sure. But I'll tell you now, they don't want that investigated any further. You know why? Because there's got to be city councilors that's asses are going to be in slings.
Yeah,
There's
and
other people in the city that are going to have their ass in a sling, and they don't want that. So they sent the police. They sent the Perry report over to the police department. Finally, for what? For the police department to say there's nothing we can do. The statute of limitations is expired. So what can they do? There's no crime to prosecute because it's expired.
Find them guilty of DUI.
Yeah.
like Karen Reed. She was acquitted, by the way. We should have led that with the show. Just for the people who weren't in the loop, she was fundamentally acquitted on all the other charges related to murder and manslaughter, et cetera, et cetera. And she got this peripheral charge, which, again, in our wonderful state that does everything ass backwards, this is one of the only states I've watched court experts say that, like Massachusetts is one of the few states that allows the defense not to go last in closing arguments, which is not good. You want the defense to go last, to give them an opportunity to have the jury not listen to, so they can kind of rebut the prosecution, because the judicial system is about protecting the defendant, and they have a right to be a legitimate defense. And also the fact that everything they did on this case, they could only get away with in Massachusetts. They tried it a second time. They let people admit they committed perjury and changed their testimonies, and there was no repercussions for those people. They gave them, she refused to give instructions. She's mandated to do that as a judge, but they don't care. They just do anything they want. It's just another thing of politicians in a blue state giving you the giant finger because they say, I'm here for life. See, some states, they elect judges. We tried that once in Massachusetts, and the judges called all their friends who appointed them in the state house, and that went down in flames, just like term limits went down in flames. This is the problem. They make the rules, and even if the rules they violate, they ignore. So the only way to fix this is to get rid of them. That simple. Get rid of them. The only way we can fix this is through the greatest power we were ever given, the power of the vote. If you don't go to the polls in November, you will see a city in receivership within the next, and I'm being very, very kind, saying
And you
within
think
5
your taxes
years.
are
we'll
high
be in
now.
receivership.
And you think your taxes are high now. Hey, I have to, before we close out, I have to go say about Nancy Smith. 40 years in city service. And Paul Coogan denies her the right to use her PTO and her sick time. And she had a doctor's note to substantiate it because they wanted her gone because she has all the dirt on her.
Well, since you brought that up, I got to make a comment. I hope she sues because this city really screwed up. You cannot allow somebody to take sick leave if they have sick leave and they have a medical doctor.
That's right.
And they have a thing. And somebody said, well, I remember somebody said you can go to a doctor and get a slip that you're sick easily. Well, that's not true. Let me explain something to you people who don't understand what the system is for a public employee. If the city of Fall River feels that that doctor's note was not correct, they have the right to send her to a city doctor. If the city doctor says that doctor's wrong, by the process that's past practice statutory, you go to a third-party neutral physician to determine whether she is legitimately sick. So, but in the interim, she has to get her sick leave. Them denying her their benefits, they only had one alternative. If they wanted to get rid of her that bad, they should have bought her out for the sick leave.
Right.
Said, okay, but I know the rumor is she had like a year's worth of sick leave, and they didn't want to pay her. And from what I've been told, the excuse was, we don't want to set a precedent. Well, I'm sorry, people. You've already set a precedent. You're allowing a police officer to stay off the job for 2 years because you gave them a benefit in a contract that had nothing to do with somebody being ill.
That's right.
When you're ill, you have a right. And the fact is, they gave them comp time without a cap. And
right.
After they know about it, in this budget, it still hasn't been changed.
That's right.
They went to the table. Did they say we got to take this away? You can only accrue X amount of comp days, and after that, you're going to lose them. You either take them or you lose them. There's a maximum. I've written contract language most of my adult life. I have never seen anything like that in a contract, and that was a gift from a mayor to them. And it should have never been in a contract. And shame on the thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars we paid this city to hire bozo lawyers to negotiate for the city. Because anybody that put that in a contract is a freaking lunatic.
That's right. No question about it. So Nancy Smith is no longer.
Sue, Nancy, sue.
What?
I'm saying, look, even Paul. Yeah, Paul. Is even
supposedly,
get a lawyer.
Supposedly, they have a fill-in that's over there who they plan on firing because Al Oliveira, the big screw-up, is necessary for the city because he's obviously kissing the mayor's ass.
You know what the excuse I heard for having him?
What?
Why they can't get rid of him? But what? It's not an excuse. It's a symptom of what's wrong with this city. Somebody told me that he's the only person in that department that knows how to do procurement. What does that say about the people that we hire?
I know.
That there's only one person who can do the job. It's like saying, well, you know, when you
go... the fact that we don't have a procurement officer in the city. We do not have a procurement officer in this city. It's being handled by multiple people.
Yeah, which it shouldn't be.
That's right.
because it should be a non-biased procurement officer that's going to review everything and follow statute. That's the way it should be. But then again, as my attorney, who used to come down here, and he was a very, very well-known and one of the best attorneys, not the best attorney in the state for labor, used to say to me, and he tells that to all his clients all over the state, when something really bizarre happens, he goes, this normally only happens in Fall River, because stuff like this only happens in Fall River. And this is what you got. The reason I heard that they have to keep this screw up on the job is he's the only one. It's like saying, it was like when they hired Bridget Allman, and Bridget Allman couldn't run the muni system, which you have to in a state to be able to do her job.
That doesn't surprise me, Andrew. And that's the sad part about it.
Yeah,
and remember,
and you know,
the education mayor.
And you know something, Andrew, that really aggravates me because, you know, I've seen those people should be getting as much recognition, if not even a little more, than people who go to high school. They get their GEDs, and CJ will attest to this because, you know, we know BCC. I have seen people who, after getting a GED, went on to Bristol Community College and graduated as at the top of their class, and they were the valedictorians of their class.
I remember a graduate of BCC that went to an Ivy League medical school. School.
That's right. And shame on that bum.
Started with a GED.
Shame on that bum who was supposed to be an educator. Because I remember one vividly. Maybe you remember it, CJ, because it was in your profession. I remember a valedictorian of BCC in a nursing school with a 4.0 average, all straight A's, who was a 40-year-old mother who left school when she was a teenager because she was pregnant, had her children, could never go back to school and never go back to high school. She got her GED. She went to BCC, and at 40 years old, she was the class valedictorian, and she went on to go get a bachelor's degree and everything else. I mean, that is reprehensible. As a father who sent 2 kids through college, not only for advanced degrees, not just bachelor's, for graduate degrees and doctorate, I value education, and I know that these people that get a GED, they should get recognition. For him to do something like that, unfortunately, is only keeping with what a bum he truly is. He has no ethics. He has no moral compass. He's a shitbag.
That's it. Well, it's been a long show. Got a lot of information out there. Call Government Center. Get a hold of Paul Coogan. Maybe I'll start giving out his cell phone number. Yeah, Paul, I might. But I'm telling you now, remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. And they don't give a shit about you, so make sure you give a shit about yourself. Take care. We'll see you on Friday. Have a great day. And remember, tomorrow is a federal holiday. There is no trash pickup tomorrow. Your trash will be picked up on Friday. Thank you.
Power to the people.